Welcome to Boundless Spirit Radio with Charlene Springer. And we're doing a special segment today, and this is with Dr. Dorothy Martin Neville. And Dr. Dorothy is the authority on what's going on the planet as far as how we as humans respond to wild things that happen, like, something different. What happened with our new president-elect, Donald Trump. So some people are looking for, what do you do with this? So welcome, Dr. Dorothy, and help.
I wish I could.
So what's going on with this? I mean, some people are really distraught. They were in tears. I have friends that were like, I can't stop crying. I cried from so deep inside me. So what's happening?
Right. And that, unfortunately, that's pretty much the same thing that's happening for many, many people up here as well. There has been continuous phone calls and texts I've been getting all day from friends who are sobbing, who can't understand how or why this happened, who are lost at the moment in distraught and despair, literally. But I think what we need to look at is that certainly this election does not reflect so much of what we as a people stand for and so much of what so many of us believe. There are different ways to approach this. And my thought is that certainly we have the deplorables, as Hillary Clinton called them, folks who are just against everything and anything and will use any issue as permission to act out and be vicious and every other word you want to use. But I do believe that the statement that was made by Bernie Sanders as well as Donald Trump is that pretty much everybody, because when you put those two groups together, we're talking almost 90% of the population of our country. Pretty much everybody has decided that the way the country has been running doesn't work. We have been so invested in animosity and in hatred and in capitalism versus democracy. We have been so invested in looking at how things are set up for the 1% versus the general public. And this need to make a dramatic change, this need to allow people to begin to be seen and heard across the board is a statement that Americans are making. And unfortunately, the one person that was representing that change was Donald Trump. So what I have heard from those few, I don't know many people. Obviously, the circles I run in are the ones who are calling me in tears and despair and shock and numbness. But those that I have spoken to, because I do try to be out there, that voted for Trump are not at all the folks that we see in the worst case scenarios. They are folks who wanted to make a statement that we need dramatic change. We need room for the 1%, and the other 99%. We need to have a change in government. So even with this, electoral vote gets eliminated. If you looked at the people, the number of citizens in the country who voted for Hillary, we would have won. With the electoral votes, things have changed. So even down to the election, it changes what we voted for based on how the system is set up. So across the board, our system needs to be changed, but changed in a way, as in a democracy, it's done through a vote. And I think if we can begin to look at the bigger picture, that we want change. So many areas, and quite certainly with so many areas in and around the United States have been so negatively impacted by the economy, by politics, by capitalism, that's become far more forceful than democracy. And this dramatic change that people have voted for has been done in a way that many of us absolutely would not have voted for and didn't, all the while wishing as well for the same kind of change. At this point in time, all we can do, truly, this is what is. How can we, as people of the world and as a people of here in the United States, how can we keep going forward, voting for and pushing for what we know is what needs to be the way a true democracy is run, with room for everybody and anybody, and with the wealth being dispensed throughout our people, throughout all of our folks, and that hatred, bigotry, and all of that, we have no room for that. Whatever your faith system is irrelevant. We have no room for bigotry and hatred and bias. And there are many, many people that I have been hearing from today saying that we have got to look at this power that we possess as a people to come together with the one united message and know that light is far more stronger than the dark. Because if we don't, we get lost up in that darkness. We get lost up in the hatred. We get lost up in hate fighting hate, and that never, ever works. We've got to stand and know that we've got to use anger, our despair, our whatever, it's energy. We've got to activate that energy, not go into despair and discouragement. Activate it, make it positive energy that's working for change so that we have told the system it doesn't work and we don't want you. We now need to tell what is here exactly what it is we do want. And it is inclusion. It is connection. It is bringing people together in a fair way rather than in the way it was going.
Now, isn't this similar to what's actually happening at Standing Rock? Because they have gathered, so many nations have come together, and that's something that's unprecedented. So
you're right. When, depending on your faith system, and I truly believe this, that when it is time for us to get a message, even in our personal lives, when it's time for us to make a change in a relationship or in a job, we start getting hints, and the hints get louder and bigger until we're slapped on the side of the head and we finally say, gee, I think it'd be a good idea to change my job now. And I think the message that we have got to give up this sense of class system, this sense of money as the governing factor, this sense of ignoring the rights of people for business, for corporations, for profit, for extreme excess, that the message is becoming everywhere. And yes, our Native Americans have certainly stood up and said, wait a minute, you had a contract. We need to have integrity in business. We need to have integrity in politics. We need to have integrity and fairness and really mutual respect for all people. And it's coming everywhere. You've seen it in Europe. You're seeing it all over. This is a global issue that we have got to look at the rights of everyone, everywhere, and eliminate the extremists. And yes, unfortunately, in this instance, it was an extremist that supported us leaving a system that doesn't work. But we need to go much further. We need to go much further and now bring us back and recognize the treaties for our American Indian tribes. And not just, this is the biggest one at the moment, but so many have been betrayed by what has been taking place. We need to make it much bigger and much more powerful a statement that we have to be here for everyone. And it went from Indian tribes to all of the American people.
Wow.
And every one of us needs to be represented and supported. And if you look at that, the message is loud and clear. That really is about the empowerment right there and where we go next. We can't give up. We've got to recognize what's needed and go for it.
So how do we as individuals, what do we do with this? What can we do? What can we do to help ourselves in the sense of what do we do for our souls, basically, because this is something that's tugging, this is affecting people viscerally. When it's visceral, it's very deep.
Oh my goodness, which is why, without even thinking, many of us just burst into tears. Many of us just, I literally could not watch it last night. I could not put my body through that because I knew the damage I would be doing. I know the impact of energy on our system. I could not watch it. I worked late in my office and then came home, prayed, and went to bed and thought, in the morning I'll find out and I'll have saved my body from the trauma of going through up and down, he wins, she wins, he wins, she wins, depending on the state. We need to know how to take care of ourselves. And we need to honor the fact that at different points, at different times of day, at different periods, we have less to give, and we need to pull in and protect ourselves, keep ourselves centered, keep ourselves balanced, and look at what works to support us. Because if we're not at our best self, we can't bring our best self to the world. And desperately right now, we have got to stick together as a people. We have got to stick together and recognize that the message is coming everywhere. And I truly see this as a spiritual message. The message is coming everywhere that we are being asked, if not demanded, to step up and recognize we are all in this together. And look at how do we on a day-to-day basis live that message? How do we on a day-to-day basis step back and have compassion and have empathy for the people in our lives? How do we, and this is a shifting and changing of the energy on the planet. If you know that what we put out vibrates, what we put out expands. So how are we standing up and saying to everybody, this can't work, we can't do it this way? We need to put out compassion. We need to put out we're walking together. We need to have more empathy for people who think differently than us, who come from different religions, different races, different nationalities than ours, and recognize none of us has the right answer. We have our answer. And really come together as people with absolute respect and a regard for all of the ones we're walking with every single day, whether in the supermarket or any place else. Because if we perpetuate the negative and hatred and bias and bigotry that we saw throughout this campaign, we are doing immense damage. If we can instead look at the bigger picture and look at the messages that are coming from Europe, from Africa, from the Middle East, and from the States, from Canada, that it's time to start thinking in terms of one large universal family and let go of this division and disregard and disrespect we're giving to everybody who isn't like us, whatever on earth us means to you, because we are all in this together.
Okay, Dr. Dorothy, I think you've answered all the questions about what's going on this planet today. What's going on?
So. Yeah. We need to take the time to grieve. We need to take the time, if we're angry, if we're infuriated, if we're aghast, take the time to do that, not destructively. We've got to take the time to feel what we're feeling, the grieving, the letting go of our vision of who we were as a people, the letting go of how far we thought we had come as a people. Breathe in, let go, and grieve, but then step back, step into your power and recognize that each one of us has the ability to get the spiritual message that's being given to us loud and clear everywhere. We are all in this together, and we have got to stand up for one another constantly as a way of life, not as just an action here and there.
Okay.
All right,
so, if people need more information from you, or they want a session with you, how can they find you?
They can go on my website, askdrdorothy.com, and they can email me, Dorothy, at askdrdorothy.com, or give me a call at 860-543-5629.
Great. Thank you so much for being with us. And this is Boundless Spirit Radio with Charlene Springer and our guest, Dr. Dorothy Martin Neville. Thank you.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Great. Thanks.